My sister paid my landlord $500 to evict me early, after I lost my job. Big mistake. The building was the kind people only noticed when something went wrong. 3 stories, beige stucco that had turned the color of old coffee, a narrow stairwell that always smelled faintly of bleach and fried onions. The mailboxes in the lobby were dented in the same places they'd been dented since I moved in. The elevator didn't exist. The parking lot was a cracked patchwork of repairs that never quite met, but it was mine. Unit 2B sat at the back, facing the alley where the delivery trucks reversed with warning beeps at 6 in the morning. I'd learned to sleep through that. I'd learned to sleep through most things. The lease was in my name. The utilities were in my name. The rent, $1,350 on the first of every month, was on autopay from the checking account I'd used since college. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and stability had always been my currency. I'd been the quiet one in my family, not because I didn't have opinions, but because opinions were expensive around certain people. My sister Alana had always been the loud one, the polished one, the one who could turn a room into an audience without ever raising her voice. She didn't argue, she performed. If there were witnesses, she was better. She was also the kind of person who could say something cutting, then smile like she'd offered you a compliment. If you reacted, it was proof you were too sensitive. That was her favorite phrase. When she got engaged, she announced it at my birthday dinner. When she started posting engagement journey videos, she asked our mother to share them in the family group chat like they were important news. When I didn't respond with enough enthusiasm, Alana sent a separate message. "You okay? You seem off." That was also her favorite move. Concern as a weapon. I hadn't seen her in person much that year. I worked in operations for a mid-sized logistics company downtown, the kind of job that didn't sound impressive until you realized everyone called you when the system broke. I didn't mind being the person who quietly fixed things. It fit me. Then, at 10:14 a.m. on a Thursday in late September, my manager sent a calendar invite titled Quick Sync. HR was already on the call when I clicked in. They used phrases like restructuring and streamlining and nothing to do with performance. They told me my last day was that same day. They emailed me a separation packet while I was still sitting there. My Slack access shut off mid-conversation. I listened, asked 2 questions, thanked them for clarifying, and closed my laptop. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, because I'd learned long ago that if you were going to fall apart, you did it where no one could use it against you. I called my landlord the next day anyway. Not because I had to, but because I believed in getting ahead of problems. His name was Mr. Klein. He owned 3 buildings in the neighborhood and spent most of his time looking like he'd rather be somewhere else. He wasn't cruel, he was just transactional. I caught him on his cell while he was driving. "Mr. Klein, it's Mara." Unit 2B. He made a sound that meant he recognized my name. "I wanted to let you know I lost my job yesterday," I said. "My rent is paid through October. I have savings, but if there's any delay, I'd rather discuss it early than miss a payment." Silence for a beat. Then, "You've never been late." "I don't plan to start." He exhaled like I'd given him a small inconvenience. "What are you asking me exactly?" "A little flexibility if I need it," I said. 2 weeks, maybe. Worst case. "Pay on time," he said. "I intend to." "That's it then," he replied, and the call ended. Not warm, not helpful, but clear. I tightened my budget that day. Canceled subscriptions I didn't use, cut grocery costs, made a spreadsheet that listed my savings, my fixed bills, and how long I could survive without income. I updated my resume. I applied to 7 jobs before lunch. I didn't tell my family immediately. Part of it was pride. Most of it was strategy. Alana had always treated my stability like something she was entitled to comment on, like my quiet life was a backdrop for her louder one. If I gave her this information before I had a plan, she'd make it content. She didn't even need a camera. But my mother noticed when I didn't answer her call on Sunday. She called again, then texted, "Everything okay?" I replied, "Yes, busy. I'll call later." By Tuesday, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door and found her holding a plastic container of rice and chicken, like an offering. "Mara," she said, scanning my face the way mothers do, "you look tired." "I'm fine," I said. It wasn't a lie. I was tired and I was fine. She stepped inside without waiting. Her eyes moved over my living room. Neat, quiet, the same way I kept everything. Her gaze snagged on my laptop open to a job board. Her mouth tightened. "What's this?" I set the container on the counter. "I got laid off." The words landed and stayed there between us. My mother's shoulders dropped, not in relief, but in disappointment that life had done something messy to her daughter. "Oh, Mara!" She reached for my hand, then hesitated like she wasn't sure how. "It's okay," I said. "It's not my fault. I'm handling it." "Have you told Alana?" she asked. "No." She made a small noise. "She'll be upset you didn't tell her. That's not my priority," I said. My mother turned the container in her hands like it was something to hold on to. "You can come stay with us," she said quickly. "Just until you get back on your feet. No rent." "No worries." I pictured it instantly. My childhood bedroom turned into storage. Alana visiting like she still owned the house. My mother hovering. My father asking questions that sounded like lectures. I pictured Alana filming in the kitchen, her voice carrying through the hall. "Guys, family is everything." "We're helping Mara right now." I didn't want my life turned into an inspirational caption. "I appreciate it," I said, "but I'm okay here." My mother frowned. "You can't be stubborn when you need help." "It's not stubborn," I said. "It's practical. My lease is paid through October, and I have savings. I'm applying. I'll be fine." She searched my face for panic, for tears, for anything dramatic enough to justify her worry. I didn't give her any. She stayed 20 minutes, asked a dozen questions, and left with a tight hug and a promise to talk to Alana. I didn't stop her. I could have. I didn't. Sometimes you let the wave hit because you need to see where the water goes. Alana called me that evening. At 7:03 p.m., I watched her name flash on my screen. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," I said. "Oh my God," she said immediately, breathy and loud. "Mara, why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to make it a thing," I said. "It is a thing," she insisted. "This is serious." Her tone wasn't soft. It was energized, like she'd been given something new to hold. I pictured her pacing in her apartment, probably barefoot, probably with a ring light somewhere nearby. "I'm applying," I said. "I'm managing." "And you're paying rent?" she asked. "Yes," I said, because the truth mattered, even when it wasn't useful. There was a pause, then a laugh. Not full laughter, more like the sound people make when they're pretending something is funny. "Mara," she said, "you can't be proud right now. This isn't the time." "I'm not being proud," I replied. "I'm being responsible. She exhaled hard. "Okay, listen, I have to be honest with you. I waited." "You know my wedding is in 4 months," she said. "We have deposits. We have vendors. We have plans. And I can't have chaos." There it was. Not concern. Not empathy. Image. "I'm not sure what that has to do with me," I said. "It has to do with family," she replied quickly, like that word could cover anything. People talk, Mara. People notice. And I don't want anyone thinking we're the kind of family that lets someone I'm not struggling, I said. "You lost your job," she snapped, then softened instantly. "Sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just mean it's not a good look." I didn't respond. Silence was useful. It made people fill it with themselves. Alana kept going. "So here's what we'll do," she said. "You come stay with Mom and Dad. Just temporarily. And then when you're working again, you can get your own place." "I already have my own place," I said. "Right now," she corrected. "But rent is expensive, and you don't have a job. It's math." "I've done the math," I said. She made a little scoff, the one she used when someone didn't accept her authority. "Mara, be reasonable."
You're always like this," she said, the first edge coming back.
"You act like you're above needing anyone." "I'm not above it," I replied.
"I'm choosing what works for me." "Okay," she said, drawing out the word.
"Fine. If you want to do it the hard way, do it the hard way." I heard movement on her end. Maybe she was opening a drawer. Maybe she was gesturing to someone else in the room. She had a habit of making calls on speaker. Then she said, almost lightly, "Just don't expect everyone to rearrange their lives because you didn't plan." I let that one sit. "I did plan," I said. "I have savings. I'm applying. I'm not asking anyone to rearrange anything." Alana's tone shifted again, sweeter. "I'm just worried about you." "I know," I said. It was easier than arguing about what she meant by worry. She talked for another few minutes, suggesting I apply to places she'd never heard of, offering vague help she didn't have time to give, mentioning her bridal shower schedule twice. Before she hung up, she said, "Just promise me you won't do anything embarrassing." "I won't," I replied. After the call, I sat at my small kitchen table and looked at my notebook where I'd started keeping a simple list. Date, time, who said what happened. It wasn't paranoia. It was habit. The kind you develop when you grow up with someone who rewrites reality the moment it stops favoring them. I wrote, September 29th, 7:03 p.m. Alana called. Said job loss is not a good look for wedding. Wants me to move home. Then I closed the notebook and opened my laptop again. I applied to 3 more jobs that night. I sent 2 follow-up emails. I updated my LinkedIn headline to "Open to Work," but I didn't make a post about it. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted options. Over the next week, Alana escalated in the way she always did. Quiet pressure at first, then public nudges. She started tagging me in posts about family supporting family. She dropped comments under my mom's Facebook updates like, "We're praying for Mara during this hard season." I hadn't told her she could share anything. She didn't ask. Then, on Sunday, my mother called again. "Mara," she said, voice tight. Alana says, "You're refusing help. She's worried you're going to get evicted." I looked around my apartment with rent paid through the end of the month, and a bank account I had already checked twice that morning. "I'm not getting evicted," I said calmly. "Well," my mother continued, "Alana said she talked to someone who said landlords don't wait. I pinched the bridge of my nose once." "Who did she talk to?" "She didn't say." Of course she didn't. My mother sighed. "Can you just come for dinner next Friday? Alana will be there. We can talk about a plan." "A plan!" Meaning a decision Alana wanted made in a room full of witnesses. I should have said no. I should have protected my peace and stayed home with my spreadsheet and my quiet. But I heard something in my mother's voice. Something like fear. Alana had planted it there, and fear made people do irrational things. "Okay," I said, "I'll come." "Good," my mother replied quickly. "Just be open, Mara." "I'm always open," I said. "I'm just careful." After I hung up, I went back to my notebook and added another line. October 3rd, 2:22 p.m. Mom says Alana told her I might get evicted. Alana claims to have spoken to someone. No details. Then I stared at the word evicted until it started to feel less like a threat and more like a clue. It didn't make sense. Mr. Klein hadn't threatened eviction. I wasn't behind. I wasn't breaking the lease. And Alana didn't usually invent specifics unless she had a reason. I didn't call her back. I didn't text asking what she meant. Instead, I logged into my tenant portal and downloaded a fresh copy of my lease. I opened my bank app and saved screenshots of my last 2 rent payments, including the confirmation numbers and timestamps. I took a screenshot of my September account balance and my current one. I saved everything into a folder on my laptop titled 2B. Quietly, methodically. Then I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I walked downstairs to the lobby and checked the mailbox, even though it wasn't delivery day. Inside was a single envelope folded tight. No stamp, just my name written across the front in thick, uneven ink. I held it for a moment, without opening it, feeling the weight of paper that shouldn't be there. Upstairs, I set it on my kitchen table beside my notebook, said they were family. My grip tightened on the phone, but my voice didn't change. "Family of mine?" "Yes," he said. "Your sister, I believe." "Alana?" He pronounced her name wrong. It still sounded like her. "She said you were having trouble," he continued. "Said she wanted to help. Offered $500 for the inconvenience if I could speed things up." "Speed what up?" I asked. "The unit," he said. "Vacancy," she said. "You'd agreed." I looked at the letter again, at the phrase "by mutual agreement." "I didn't," I said. I didn't take the money, he added quickly. I told her I'd think about it. But someone delivered a letter? I said. Yes, he said. That wasn't me. Who was it? I asked. He hesitated. She said she had a friend who did legal paperwork. Of course she did. I want to be clear, I said evenly. My rent is current. My lease is valid. I have not agreed to early termination. Yes, he said. I can see that. Then I'll be staying, I said. Another pause. Yes, he said again. You will. We ended the call with nothing else resolved and everything clarified. I didn't feel relief. I felt confirmation. Alana hadn't been worried about me getting evicted. She'd been trying to arrange it, quietly, casually, like it was a favor. I added a new page to my notebook. October 4th, 9:07 a.m. Called landlord. Confirms Alana visited in person last week. Offered $500 to speed up vacancy. Claims I agreed. He did not accept money. Letter was not authorized. I didn't confront her. Confrontation would have tipped her off. She would have backtracked, deleted messages, reframed the story before it ever reached daylight. Instead, I let her keep talking. She texted that afternoon, "Did you get the letter?" I waited an hour before replying. What letter? 3 dots appeared immediately. From the landlord. About moving. Mom's freaking out. Interesting. She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked if I'd received the message she wanted delivered. I replied, "I'm handling it." A minute passed. Then, "You should really call him. Things can get messy if you wait." I didn't respond. That evening, she posted a story on Instagram, a photo of her at a cafe, latte art in the shape of a heart. The caption read, "Doing hard things for family, even when it's uncomfortable." She tagged no one, but everyone knew. By Thursday, the pressure shifted from digital to physical. My mother called twice, my father once. A cousin I barely spoke to messaged asking if I was okay and whether I needed a place. Alana had activated the network. I answered politely, briefly, with the same line, "I'm okay. My housing is secure." The repetition seemed to irritate her. Jess is on the other side of me. She called me that night. "Mara," she said, skipping pleasantries, "why are you telling people everything is fine?" "Because it is," I said. "That's not what this is about," she snapped. "You're making me look like I overreacted." "I let the silence do its work. You could have just let this happen," she continued. "It would have been easier. For who?" I asked. "For everyone," she said. "Mom is stressed. Dad's confused. I'm trying to plan a wedding. And you're digging your heels in over an apartment you can't afford long-term anyway." "I can't afford it," I said. "You don't have a job," she replied. "I have savings," I said. She laughed again, sharper this time. "You always think you're smarter than everyone." I said. "I think I'm responsible for myself." "That's the problem," she said. "You don't think about the family." I almost smiled. The irony was clean. "I have to go," I said. "You always do this," she said quickly. "You disappear when things get hard. I disappear when things get manipulative," I replied. She hung up on me. I wrote it all down. October 5th, 8:41 p.m. Alana upset that I told people housing is secure. Says I should have let it happen. The dinner at my parents' house was 2 days later. I arrived on time. I brought nothing except myself and my phone fully charged. Alana was already there, seated at the table like she'd been holding court for an hour. She stood when she saw me, arms open, performance ready. "Mara!" she said loudly. "Everyone's been so worried about you." I hugged her lightly, stepped back, and took a seat. Dinner unfolded like a script I'd read before. Alana framed herself as the concerned sister. My mother nodded along. My father asked practical questions about my job search. Alana interrupted him twice to emphasize how fragile the situation was. At one point, she said, "I just don't want Mara sleeping in her car." I set my fork down. "I'm not." "Well," she said, tilting her head, "you never know how fast things can change." I looked directly at her. "I do." She blinked, then smiled. "See? Always so confident." After dessert, when the dishes were cleared and the room felt settled enough for decisions, Alana leaned forward. So, she said, we've talked, and we think the best thing is for you to move out sooner rather than later. Clean break, fresh start. We? I asked. Mom and Dad, she said. Right? My parents exchanged a look. My mother nodded uncertainly. I'm not moving, I said. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Alana exhaled through her nose. Mara, don't be difficult. I'm not, I said. I have a valid lease. You can't just hide behind paperwork, she snapped. Actually, I said, I can. The room went quiet. Alana recovered quickly. Fine, she said, standing. Then I guess we'll see what happens. She smiled like someone who believed the ending was already written. I didn't argue. I didn't reveal anything, because I wanted her to keep believing that. Over the next week, she got bolder. She emailed my landlord again, copying me this time, framing it as a misunderstanding, and reiterating her offer to help facilitate a smooth transition. She used words like support and family decision. She attached a PDF titled Agreement, unsigned, but with my name typed neatly at the bottom. She texted me reminders. Just so you know, I've done everything I can. She left a voicemail saying, I don't want this to blow up. I saved everything. Screenshots, PDFs, call logs, voicemails. I requested a copy of the security camera footage from the building entrance for the day she'd visited Mr. Said B.O. Klein. He emailed me a still image, time-stamped, grainy, unmistakable. Alana, standing in the lobby, holding an envelope. I didn't tell her I had it. Then, on Tuesday morning, something unexpected happened. Mr. Klein forwarded me an email. Subject line, receipt. It was from Alana.
She'd sent it to him by mistake. Attached was a screenshot from her banking app.
A $500 transaction labeled lease termination fee, pending. In the memo line, she'd written, for Mara, as discussed. The date matched the day she told my mother she was handling things. I stared at the screen for a long moment, not because I was shocked, but because the story had finally reached its spine. This wasn't concern. It was control, documented. I saved the email, the attachment, and the metadata. I backed it up to 2 locations. I added the final entry to my notebook for that week. October 10th, 9:16 a.m. Landlord forwarded email from Alana with $500 payment receipt labeled lease termination fee, sent to him accidentally. I closed my laptop and sat very still. Alana thought this was almost over. She'd already told people I was transitioning. She'd hinted at it online. She'd positioned herself as the hero in advance. She didn't know she'd handed me the one thing I needed. And she didn't know she was about to invite an audience. Alana announced the engagement brunch. 3 days later, she didn't call it that. She called it a family moment. She sent the invitation as a group text with pastel graphics and a venue tag, like it was something soft and spontaneous instead of carefully staged. Brunch this Saturday at Larkin Finch, she wrote. Just close family. We want to talk about wedding details and celebrate together. Larkin Finch was not casual. It was the kind of place where menus had no prices, and the lighting made everyone look better than they felt. Alana loved it because it photographed well, and because people there spoke softly, like they knew they were being observed, my mother replied with heart emojis. Aunts chimed in. Cousins asked about parking. Alana added one more line, separate from the graphic. And yes, Mara will be there too. We're working through some things as a family. There it was, the narrative, pre-written. I stared at my phone and felt something close to appreciation. She was doing exactly what I needed her to do, setting the stage herself, inviting witnesses without realizing it. I replied with one word. Okay. That night, I prepared, not emotionally, but logistically. I printed my lease. Every page, including the clause Alana had tried to misuse. I printed my rent payment confirmations with dates and transaction IDs visible. I printed the unauthorized letter, the forwarded email from Mr. Pate Klein, the screenshot of the $500 payment attempt, and the still image from the security camera. I didn't highlight anything. I didn't annotate. I just organized the documents in chronological order, clipped neatly into a slim folder. Facts didn't need decoration. I emailed Mr. Blacksoff 5 times. She said, Klein as well. I'll be at a family gathering Saturday morning where my sister may continue misrepresenting my housing situation. If contacted, are you comfortable confirming the facts as we discussed? He replied 20 minutes later. Yes! Your lease stands, I'll say so if asked. I didn't ask him to attend. I didn't need him there. I needed him available. On Friday night, Alana called again. Mara, she said, voice light. Just wanted to make sure we're good for tomorrow. We're good, I said. I don't want any awkwardness, she added. This is supposed to be positive. I agree, I said. She hesitated. You seem calm. Camp? I am. She laughed softly. You always are. It's almost creepy. I didn't respond. She filled the space. So tomorrow, we'll just explain the plan to everyone, okay? No surprises. No surprises, I echoed. She hung up satisfied. Saturday morning, I dressed simply. Neutral colors, clean lines, nothing that looked offensive or dramatic. I put the folder into my bag alongside my phone charger and notebook. When I arrived at Larkin Finch, Alana was already there, standing near the window with her fiancé Evan. He was tall, agreeable-looking, the kind of man who smiled on cue and trusted Alana to handle details. She saw me immediately. Mara! She called, a little too loud. Heads turned, smiles followed. I hugged my parents. I nodded to cousins. I ordered coffee and sat where I could see everyone without being centered. Alana waited until plates arrived. She stood, glass in hand. I just want to say how grateful I am, she began, voice warm, practiced. Weddings bring out a lot of emotions, and this season has been challenging. She paused, glancing at me. But family shows up, even when things are hard. My mother reached for my hand under the table. Alana continued. Some of you know Mara's been going through a transition.
Hey! Job stuff! Housing stuff!
There was a collective intake of breath, the kind people take when they sense drama, but don't know the details yet. Alana smiled gently. We've been helping her figure out next steps so she can land on her feet. I sipped my coffee. She's moving out of her apartment soon, Alana added casually. It's for the best. A fresh start. The words landed and settled. I looked around the table. Faces registered sympathy, concern, approval. The story was clean. Alana was generous. I was struggling but supported. I set my cup down. That's not accurate, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Alana's smile flickered for half a second. Mara, I'm not moving, I said, and my housing is secure. A few people shifted in their seats. Alana laughed lightly. See? See? She's still processing. It's okay. I turned to my mother. Mom, you've seen my lease. And then as I read this, the person dashed around me. It's valid through March. My mother blinked. Well, Alana said. I know what Alana said, I replied. I also know what's documented. Alana's eyes sharpened. This isn't the place. You made it the place, I said calmly. You announced it. Evan cleared his throat. Maybe we should? It's fine, Alana said quickly. You're good with money. Mara's just emotional. I reached into my bag and placed the folder on the table. I didn't open it yet. I'm not emotional, I said. I'm factual. Alana crossed her arms. Okay, then tell everyone why you won't accept help. I will, I said. But first, I want to be clear about what happened. The table went silent. Even the clink of cutlery from nearby tables seemed to fade. After I lost my job, I continued, I informed my landlord. My rent was current. My lease was valid. There was no eviction. Alana shook her head slightly, like she was correcting a child. Mara, please don't interrupt, I said, still calm. You've spoken enough. That stopped her. Without my consent, I went on, someone approached my landlord offering money to terminate my lease early. A murmur moved through the group. Alana laughed sharply. That's ridiculous. I opened the folder. I slid the unauthorized letter onto the table, face up. Then the email Mr. Klein had forwarded. Then the screenshot of the $500 transaction. I didn't say whose name was on it. I let people read. Alana leaned forward, eyes scanning, then froze. That's not... she started. I placed the still image from the security camera last. Timestamp visible, her face unmistakable. The silence stretched. I looked at her then, not with anger, but with something steadier. You paid my landlord $500 to try to remove me from my home, I said, after I lost my job. And then you told everyone you were helping me.
Alana stood abruptly.
This is insane. You're twisting things.
I'm not, I said. These are your documents. She looked around, searching for support. My mother stared at the table. Evan looked confused, then concerned. I did it for you, Alana said finally. You're making me sound awful. I closed the folder gently. I didn't make you do anything, I said. I just waited. No one spoke. I took out my phone and unlocked it, screen facing down. If anyone needs confirmation, I added, my landlord is available. I didn't call yet. I let the weight of that option sit in the air. Alana's confidence collapsed in stages, first denial, then defensiveness, then something like panic. You could have just talked to me, she said. I tried, I replied. You acted. The waiter approached cautiously. Is everything okay? Yes, I said. We're just clarifying a misunderstanding. Alana looked like she might cry or scream. She did neither. She grabbed her bag. I can't believe you do this to me, at my own brunch. I met her eyes. You invited me. She left without another word. No one followed. I stayed seated, hands folded, breathing steady. My mother finally spoke. Mara, is all of this true?
Yes, I said. Evan looked at the empty chair where Alana had been.
She said you agreed. I didn't, I replied. He nodded slowly, like something inside him had shifted. I picked up my coffee again, now cold. I didn't want this to be public, I said quietly. But I also wasn't going to be displaced quietly. No one argued. Outside through the window, I saw Alana pacing on the sidewalk, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing wildly. She still thought she could fix this by talking. She didn't realize yet that the talking part was over, and that the consequences were just beginning. I didn't leave the brunch immediately. That was the first consequence Alana hadn't anticipated. She'd stormed out, expecting the room to follow her, to dissolve into confusion without her there to anchor the narrative. Instead, people stayed, plates cooled. Coffee went untouched. The silence didn't rush to fill itself. I stayed seated, posture unchanged, like nothing urgent was pulling me anywhere. My mother was the first to speak again. Why didn't you tell us? She asked, not accusing, just shaken. I did, I said. Just not all at once. She shook her head slowly. Alana said you were overwhelmed, that you asked her to handle things. I didn't, I replied. I asked for space. My father cleared his throat. Did she really offer money? Yes, I said. $500. I didn't know about it until after. Evan finally spoke. She told me the landlord was threatening eviction. That wasn't true, I said. He confirmed it. Why would she do that? One of my aunts asked quietly. I didn't speculate. I didn't diagnose. You'd have to ask her, I said. I can only tell you what happened. Someone suggested calling Alana back inside. Someone else suggested postponing the brunch entirely. No one asked me to apologize. Eventually, people stood one by one, offering awkward hugs or murmured support. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was something better. Recognition? Evan lingered. I'm sorry, he said, not looking at me at first. I didn't know. I believe you, I said. He nodded, eyes distant. I need to talk to her. That makes sense, I replied. When I finally left, the sidewalk was empty. Alana was gone. I walked to my car and sat there for a minute before starting the engine. My hands were steady. My chest felt light, not because anything was over, but because nothing was hanging in the dark anymore. By Sunday evening, the ripple effects had begun. Alana called. I didn't answer. She texted, "We need to talk." I didn't reply. She emailed. The subject line read, "This got out of hand." I archived it. I wasn't punishing her. I wasn't avoiding accountability. I was enforcing a boundary she didn't get to negotiate. On Monday morning, Mr. Klein called me.
I got 3 calls this weekend, he said, from different people.
All asking about your lease. I'm sorry, I said. It's fine, he replied. I told them the same thing I told you. Your lease stands. No eviction. No early termination. Thank you, I said. There was a pause. Your sister called too. I didn't respond. She wanted to explain, he continued. I told her I don't do family drama. That made me smile. She also asked if I'd accepted the money, he added. I told her no, and that even if I had, it wouldn't change the contract. Did she say anything else? I asked. She said she was trying to help, he replied. I told her help doesn't look like forged letters. He hung up after that. I added one final entry to my notebook. October 15th. Landlord reaffirmed lease to multiple family members. Confirmed sister attempted to justify actions. No change in status. I closed the notebook and didn't reopen it.
2 days later, Evan emailed me. It was short.
Mara, I wanted you to know I've postponed the wedding. I don't have clarity yet, but I needed honesty first. Thank you for being calm when you didn't have to be. I didn't forward it. I didn't share it. I replied once. I hope you get the clarity you're looking for. That was it. Alana's version of events didn't survive the week. When she tried to frame it as a miscommunication, too many people had seen the documents. When she tried to say I'd overreacted, no one could point to a reaction. When she tried to imply I'd embarrassed her on purpose, the timeline spoke for itself. She lost something she valued deeply, control of the story. Our mother came by my apartment the following Saturday. She knocked this time. She stood in the doorway, looking smaller than usual. I didn't raise you to be afraid, she said. I think I forgot that. I wasn't afraid, I replied. I was careful, she nodded. I should have asked you first. Yes, I said gently. She took a breath. Alana's struggling. I imagine she is, I said. She feels betrayed, my mother continued.
She thinks you went behind her back. I didn't, I said.
I stayed in my lane. My mother looked around my apartment, at the quiet order of it. I'm proud of you, she said, like it was something new. I didn't respond right away. Thank you, I said finally. Alana didn't come by. She didn't call, again. What she did do was start telling people she was taking space from me for her mental health. I didn't correct that either. Space was exactly what I wanted. A month later, I accepted a job offer. It wasn't flashy. It paid slightly less than my last row, but it was stable, and the people I interviewed with asked good questions. On my first day, I updated my spreadsheet, not because I needed to, but because it reminded me how far I'd carried myself without anyone noticing. I paid my rent on time, again. In December, I received a formal letter from Mr. Klein, not a threat, but an apology. He acknowledged that someone had attempted to interfere with my tenancy. He confirmed, in writing, that my lease was valid and that no third party had authority to negotiate on my behalf. I filed it away, not because I expected to need it, because I no longer ignored patterns. Alana and I did not reconcile. We exchanged one final message in January. I never meant to hurt you, she wrote. I was trying to protect the family. I read it twice. Then I replied, you don't get to protect people by taking their choices. She didn't answer. That was the last conversation we had. At some point, I realized something important. I didn't feel victorious. I felt aligned. Aligned with my values. Aligned with my pace. Aligned with the quiet competence that had always been there, even when it wasn't acknowledged. I hadn't won. I'd simply refused to lose myself to someone else's urgency. The apartment stayed quiet. The alley trucks kept beeping in the mornings. The mailboxes remained dented, but the space felt lighter, not because the conflict was dramatic, because it was resolved without me becoming someone I wasn't. And that, I learned, was the most expensive mistake my sister ever made. I turned on my phone's voice recorder, not because I planned to dramatize it, but because I'd learned that when something feels off, you document first and feel later. Then I slid my finger under the flap, and the moment I saw the first line of text, I chose silence over reaction. The letter wasn't an eviction notice, not officially. It was a notice of early termination, printed on plain white paper, unsigned, and dated 3 days in the future. It referenced my unit number, my name, and a clause from my lease that allowed termination by mutual agreement. Mutual. There was nothing mutual about it. The language was careful, almost casual, like someone who didn't fully understand the rules had tried to imitate them. It said the landlord had received compensation to facilitate an earlier vacancy, and that I was expected to vacate within 14 days. There was no court stamp, no certified mail marking, no signature from Mr. Fauster, Klein. At the bottom was a phone number, not the one I had for my landlord. I didn't react. I didn't call. I didn't text anyone. I sat down, read the letter again, and then once more out loud while the recorder ran. I noted the date. I noted the phrasing. I noted what was missing. Then I slid it into a plastic sleeve and placed it in the folder with my lease and payment screenshots. I slept normally that night. The next morning, I called Mr. Klein at 9:07 a.m., exactly when his office usually opened. He answered on the second ring. "This is Mara, Unit 2B, I said. "Yes," he replied, already distracted. "I received a letter about early termination of my lease," I continued. "I wanted to confirm whether it came from you." There was a pause, longer than the one he'd taken when I told him I'd lost my job. "What letter?" he asked. I described it precisely, the date, the wording, the reference to compensation. Another pause, then a low sigh. "Someone came by last week," he said.